We are back from our little trip up north, and we are back at the van build. We've got everything unloaded, and I've been working on the bulkhead right here, about ready to put a coat of clear poly on it, and Andy is working inside the van. Hi, Andy. I think he's putting some extra corner braces on the counter to keep the whole counter secure. Is that right?
Yes.
Cool. I did the rough cut on this bulkhead before we left. I didn't have time to get it in, so we did the final finishing touches to make sure it was the perfect fit this morning. And as we were doing that, I've painted the other side white, which is going to be inside next to the refrigerator. This side is going to be facing the bench, so our living area. And Andy suggested, because it is beautiful Baltic birch, or birch, actually not Baltic birch, but birch plywood. There is a difference. This is birch, it's nice cabinet grade plywood, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put a coat of clear poly on it instead of painting it, so we can enjoy looking at the grain on there. This board is the backer to the bench, and I had to take it out because even though I measured and dry fit with the bulkhead, for some reason when I went to put the bulkhead in, it seems like it's off by about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna go ahead and install the bulkhead and then remeasure this and trim it down as I needed to. But I used spack screws in here, which go in really well and hold really well. And they have their own bit, so you don't strip the bit, so that's really nice. But they do have a tendency to dig into the wood and go in really deep. And as I was taking it out, they actually really chewed up the plywood. So they were pulling off the top layer or two of plywood. And I've had to go back in and patch all of these holes. And I'm gonna switch screws when I reinstall this, just to make sure that if I do need to remove it, it's gonna be easier and not chew up the wood. Well, I just discovered my error, and it's an easy one to make, but it's very frustrating. When I went to attach the bulkhead to the board that's going to make the floor of that little cavity, I put it on the side instead of on the top. So you can see here, this is next to it, and it should have been resting on it. And I noticed that because I was getting ready to bring this board back to refit, and I thought, that doesn't hit the ceiling like it's supposed to. So I'm glad I noticed now, but it's definitely frustrating to have to do rework. I know I shouldn't get angry at myself because that's an easy mistake to make, but I am, because not only do I now have holes in my bulkhead where I didn't need them, I've wasted a whole lot of time. Went to Home Depot special for the right size screws last night to attach that piece, and now I got to take it apart, put it back together so it fits right. So it's just the price you pay for, number one, working when you're tired, and two, I don't know, being inexperienced, I guess. So anyway, I'm beating myself up for a little minute and then I'm gonna stop. Okay, my little pity party is over, and I have got this attached in the right spot now. I glued it and then just used some brads on the bottom just for stability, since it's not going to be really structural. I did want to point out, I got this little right angle clamp at Harbor Freight, and I really wish I got them too. They're pretty awesome, and they're helping a lot in terms of keeping things stable when I'm trying to attach things at a right angle. This is so much better. The bulkhead is in, it fits up to the ceiling the way it should, and I did not have to cut this panel because it was sized right. So I guess the lesson there is to pay attention to clues if something doesn't look right. Like I noticed the ceiling gap, then you want to check your work. I am finally working on my bench, and I pre-cut all the pieces the other day except for the 1x2. So I have cut those down for my long pieces. I still need to cut the short pieces, but first I'm going to go ahead and notch out the corners of each of the dividers. Since the 1x2, it'll sit on top of the 1x2, and I need to just subtract out the distance for that. So that's a 3/4 inch notch that I need to put on each corner of each panel, like I've marked here. All right, next step here is I've cut all of my shorter support pieces. These will go vertically. They're 17 inches a piece, and I'm going to use my Kreg jig to put holes in them to attach them to the horizontal pieces. But I want to be really precise, so I'm actually marking a little line here that corresponds with the height here, and then the center line. So when I put this in the jig to line it up, I'll be able to get dead center for those 2 holes since there's not a lot of width to play with. So here's a quick little tip for you if you're using a Craig jig. Yours might look a little different because these were black on black, these little indicators here, and it was making me crazy that it was really hard to see. So I just grabbed a little bit of Loctite, this dries white, and I rubbed it into the grooves there and just wiped off the excess, and now they're white and easily visible. After I made the 2 frames and test fit them, I went ahead and test fit all of the divider panels, made sure the corners fit, and then put holes in for Craig screws to attach them to these frames as well. So I'm getting ready to put all that in the van, and fingers crossed it will all go according to plan. As I put these panels in, I'm gonna have to be really careful because I accidentally used 3/4 inch settings on my Craig for about 2/3 of those holes, and I don't want to overshoot and come through the face frame, so I have to be super careful there. But I'm gonna go ahead and glue these and get it all set up. I just finished putting the 4 dividers in. I still need to put the front frame on, but it did take a little finagling because the wall here is not square. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get the front face frame on, and let's see what happens. Well, that took some doing, actually lots of doing. But I finally got the framework for the cabinet in, and I'm just test fitting the front face and the top, and it works. Andy and I sat on our new sofa, and it works. I do have a little bit of work there to clean up where I had problems with that panel earlier. And then the inside, and these will be cut to different sizes, and it doesn't fit real well. There'll be different lids here, so that's where the toilet's going to go. It'll have a separate lid, and then a lid for the middle compartment, and then this compartment is going to have a pull-out footrest in it, and so I will need to cut that front piece to accommodate that. Otherwise, it's going to be straight across. So we're going to do that, and then we also found out that the toilet doesn't quite fit because of this cross piece right here, and we had talked about cutting this out and making kind of a U shape so that it's a little more comfortable when we use it. And I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then that should allow us to put the toilet in there and then be more comfortable when we use it. So I'm pretty excited to have made this much progress today. It is just after 8:30. I got the van down by the street today, and we just made what I hope is our final run for plywood since it's gotten so freaking expensive. This little sheet of 1/2 inch sanded plywood was not quite $50 at Home Depot. Knowing that wood is money, basically, I came out this morning. I woke up at like 5:30 and just started going through in my head, what else do I need? How am I going to get the cabinets done? All that kind of stuff. So I came out and I inventoried all the wood that I have to figure out what exactly do I need to get my upper cabinets done and the rest of my bulkheads and all that stuff, because we're really under a time crunch for construction here, at least, very least, getting everything cut so we can construct it later. But anyway, I took inventory and I needed more wood, decent wood, for the cabinet bottoms and back. So I wanted a 1/2 inch sheet. I'm not doing 3/4, it's just, well, 3/4 inch sheet is close to $80 these days, so pretty insane. But anyway, I came in and I counted everything, measured everything, made some lists, and I sorted all my pieces and went through and just labeled everything so I don't accidentally use a piece for the wrong thing. So I've got 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch plywood, that I can use for the dividers between the cabinets. I've got a couple pieces of nice birch I can use on the ends that will be visible. I've got a nice piece of birch left over that I can use for the shelf above the bed. So I've got everything pretty much planned out. I've even got a really nice piece of birch. This is still 8 feet long. That's gonna be my cabinet doors. And now that we've made the Home Depot run, I have what I need to build the rest of the cabinets. I even needed to get some 1x3 because the 1x2 that I got last night is okay for face frames, but I felt like maybe structurally not strong enough for the weight that's gonna be in the cabinets. So I have a little more work to do on the bench that I was working on yesterday, but it was making me crazy. Part of that was my own stupidity. I had a piece in backwards and it was throwing everything off. So need to work on that some more, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn my attention to the cabinets, the upper cabinets, and try to get all the wood and everything cut for those, maybe get some frames constructed, and then we can paint them before they go in. We'll see. It's a lot to do. I know it's not all gonna happen in one day, but I'm gonna do as much as I can, and then later on I'll go back to the bench and measure out the cuts for the top. And I have to cut the giant piano hinge that I got for the bed. We're not using it for the bed, so I'm gonna use that as hinges on the bench, and then also the face of the bench. And I still need to build a pull-out footstool. Not 100% priority. I'm trying to focus on things that are priority to get done before we leave here. Eric has been a very, very gracious host, but I'm not sure how long that graciousness is gonna last. When he gets back from vacation, he may be ready to have his house guests off. So we shall see. But anyway, that's the plan for the day, and I'm gonna get at it. There's my pretty faucet with the pull down single lever. We're gonna combine the hot and cold water, or shut off the hot, because we don't have a heater in the van, which is fine with me. But Andy warned me as he was putting it in last night that I may end up having to lose one of my precious drawers. This one we've already taken out and replaced with a little tip out tray because the sink is back there, but the weight for the faucet for the pull out is dropping down right now into the center cabinet. So I'm either gonna have to shorten it or do some other manipulation to make it all fit in there, which is a shame. Before I do the upper cabinet right here, I'm going to go ahead and do the bulkhead. So I'm working on the template right now, but that bulkhead is going to bump up against the fridge cabinet here. It's not going to come all the way out. It's going to be about halfway. It's going to allow me to put in a couple of shelves here, and it's also going to be where the cabinet is aligned. So I'm going to have a separate end for the cabinet and attach the two, but I want to go ahead and get this cut and installed before I do that. I've almost got the top of my template ready to go right up in here. I do need to move those wires and get them stashed. And I should be able to use pretty much the same template over here. But this process is a lot of fine tuning. As you can see, I've got a lot of garbage. Just ran to get myself another little garbage bag and wanted to share with you these hooks that I got. I found these on Amazon and they just fit right up under the headrest. So I'm testing them out. So far, so good. They could fit a little bit better, but that's all right. And I also got some pretty rad seat covers that I'm happy with because I got really tired of sticking to the vinyl seats when we were road tripping. So I only had them a couple days, but they're working out pretty well. And I have a garden. So it's time to water the plants, but they seem like they're pretty happy and they've been in there for about a month. So that makes me smile. I finally finished the template here. I actually took the smaller pieces that I made for the top and the bottom of it, combined them and put them on a full sheet of cardboard, and transferred it over to the wood here, which I'm getting ready to cut. And then pray for me that it's right. I know it always takes a little fine tuning, but I get really frustrated when I screw up, which seems to happen a lot lately. I have both the bulkheads cut and fitted. I'm going to take them out to paint them, but I'm working on the back panel here and decided to move these wires up because they're actually going to come through here and have a control panel on this side of the wood. But I've discovered that I insulated almost too well because I did get this pillar earlier and I'm having to pull it out and it's just crammed up in there. So I'm having a hard time pulling it out, but I'll get it done.